Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. As you know, I'm reviewing all of Elton John's studio albums. In my last video, I reviewed Tumbleweed Connection and I looked at the 10 tracks that appeared on the original vinyl. Well, we've got some unfinished business, and today I'm going to be looking at the 2 bonus tracks which appeared on the CD release of this album, plus one more track which appears on the deluxe edition, which isn't a piano demo of one of these songs, if you see what I mean. So the first one is Into the Old Man's Shoes. This appeared on the 1995 and 2001 reissues. This is another Bernie Taupin lyric. Let's hear how it goes. I'm moving out of Tombstone, yeah, with a song behind my back. I'm tired of people talking of things that I lack. So this is the story of somebody whose father has died. He's kind of lived in his shadow for most of his life. And now he needs to leave town, this place described as Tombstone, perhaps to find himself. In a way, he's moving out of his old man's shoes rather than into them. Well, this starts with a confident vocal. As you can hear, Elton's in great form, piano accompaniment in great form. Where does this song actually go? I just wanted you to hear this bit. Just echoes there of what's to come with Love Lies Bleeding, isn't there, from Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Nothing wrong with that, of course, it's very pleasant. How does the refrain go, though? And all they say is you ain't half the man he used to be. He had strength and worked his life to feed his family. Well, this is all very pleasant, isn't it? And this is a song, I think, which could easily have fitted onto this album had there been space. As you know, I'm not a huge fan of Where To Now St. Peter, so this could maybe have slotted in there. Or maybe just made it an 11th track, and it would have been very comfortable in there on what we know is a classic album. I suppose one thing we could say about that song is it doesn't really reach any particular hook on the refrain. It's kind of a continuing story, and it's a pleasant listen, and it all seems to fit together quite well. Possibly promises more than it actually delivers in the end, and could be a little bit more focused maybe. But yeah, this is a fairly good song, I would say. I'm going to give it 5 out of 10, and certainly I'd like to see it on that album. I don't know what you think. Now, track 12 is a bit of an oddity. It's the original version of Madman Across the Water. Now, let me just say, first of all, that I'm a huge fan of this song. In fact, I awarded it 9 out of 10, one of my highest marks, when I was reviewing that album, which I'm a huge fan of. Now, this is very much a piece for Mick Ronson to show his skills on the guitar. He was a guitarist with David Bowie and the Spiders from Mars. So it comes with a great pedigree, and he certainly shows his prowess on this track, which goes on for nearly 9 minutes. Whereas Madman on the Madman album is very much a piano-led piece, this is a guitar-led piece. And it's quite different in the way the guitar drives right through. It gets a little bit frantic, I would say, in parts. So let's just hear a bit. The actual vocal performance almost takes second place to all of this, and it may have been why Elton decided to re-record this, in that this became a track almost in which he was kind of on the sides and the guitarist was to the fore of this. It becomes a little bit self-indulgent further on. I think this would have been great to see live. But in terms of the recorded version, I would definitely go with the later one that we see on the Madman album. Still, it's interesting, and it's always good to compare different versions of classic songs. So I reckon this is good, and I'm going to give it 6 out of 10. Now, we like our deep cuts, don't we? Well, they don't get much deeper than Sisters of the Cross. which is a piano demo which appears on the deluxe bonus disc of Tumbleweed Connection. I wish I'd got that actually, but haven't got that unfortunately. Now this is about nuns who are trapped inside their convent. They're shedding a tear in there because they're isolated in the countryside. Well, I don't know about you, I know one or two nuns, and the ones I've come across, they all seem pretty happy actually, and have quite a sort of balanced outlook on life. This is quite a negative portrayal, possibly looking back into history of those who might have been forced into a convent rather than that actually chosen to go inside there. It's an odd sort of song. It's got minor and major sequences in it, and I get the feeling that Elton is still at the experimental stage with this. I think it could have become a good song, possibly if he'd reworked it a bit, worked out some sort of band arrangement for it. It's got a very high and frenetic vocal in parts, but it just generally has that feeling of being unfinished. Let's hear a bit.
The old gates are always locked by the daughter of the keys. Sad eyes are fixed on the world.
So this verse sounds quite promising, doesn't it? But when we get to the refrain, which goes into that major key, it all gets a little bit unwieldy. You know, I think it's a work in progress. That's all we can say. It's a shame in a way it never became a song. I think it could have been quite interesting. At the moment, though, we can't really give that a high rating. We can only say it's disappointing for now and give that 2 marks out of 10. Some of these piano demos are interesting, I think, whilst others, I would say, you know, they're not as good as the finished product. The one, of course, that is outstanding for me is not from this one, but when we think of Skyline Pigeon, we've got at least two versions of that, plus the live ones. You've got a harpsichord version, which appeared on Empty Sky, and we've got the piano version, which I absolutely love. Now, I'm not sure whether that came after or before, but that's a good example of where just a piano-only version of a track can be fantastic. Anyway, that's Sisters of the Cross. Now, I just want to round up some of your comments you've made since I posted my review on Tumbleweed Connection. And I think generally among fans, everybody regards this as a great album. I'm really pleased there's so many fans out there of this album. Let's see. One of the disagreement points was about the song Where To Now St. Peter, which I felt was the weakest on the album. But there's still a lot of fans of that. For instance, Danny Stewart is saying that should have got 7 out of 10. I think I gave it 4. And Dan is also saying Amarina should have got 10 out of 10. Lot of fans of that song as well. Some people are also referring to the version of My Father's Gun, which appears on the Restoration album. And I love that album, actually. Here it is, in fact, and these are kind of Americana country versions of Elton John's songs. I will review this separately, but My Father's Gun there is sung by Miranda Lambert. If you haven't got this one, definitely give it some consideration. I think, as in terms of covers, these are among some of the best. If you like that Americana sound and a kind of new country sound, definitely worth having a look at that. Nat says that they would have bumped up My Father's Gun to a 10 out of 10. Also a fan of Where To Now St. Peter. Rob says it's a great album, but not one he listens to a lot. Well, maybe that might change. Mario says that the only difference would be on the track Burn Down the Mission. I think I gave this one an 8. Mario would give that a 9 and likes the live version on 17/11/70. Burn Down the Mission is always a great live track, especially that piano break in the middle. I bet we all love that bit, don't we? Now, we've got 007 now, who's one of my regular contributors, has critiqued every single song and also marked them. I really like reading these assessments. We don't differ that much as we go through. Although 007 gives Son of Your Father 9.5 out of 10. Love Song as well, 8.5 out of 10. Amarina, and gives Talking Old Soldiers 10 out of 10. Well, I gave it 9. That's an absolutely brilliant track. 007 says, this is a brilliant, bluesy, jazzy song, dark, melancholic and impressive. Yeah, excellent assessment there, I think. It's an interesting comment also on the Madman Across the Water, which I've just reviewed. And 007 is saying the Madman album version is much more subtle than this. This version sounds more like a live version, like an improvisation of a studio version. I don't care much about it, and even though there was some excellent, exciting guitar playing, I don't like to listen to this. Yeah, I kind of echo those views. This is it's an interesting addition to the CD. Good for collectors, obviously, and obsessives like we are, but it's not as good as the Madman version. Now, Davey Wavy has got a really interesting comment because he's got a copy of the album that doesn't contain Son of Your Father but has Amarina twice. Well, I think I'll probably keep hold of that because that could be quite valuable. It's probably some sort of mistake. I wonder how many there are like that out there. Maybe you have one. Let us know, please. And Mark says, excellent review. And he puts 2 of the tracks in his farewell concert list. Remember, we were doing our fantasy farewell concert list, weren't we? He chooses Burn Down the Mission and My Father's Gun for that. Well, they'd go brilliantly live, wouldn't they? So definitely a lot of enthusiasm for the album there. Keep commenting below if you've got a favourite track or ratings you want to send through. If you want to send through your ratings for every track, I'm interested to read them. That's all for now. I'm going to be back soon with my next album review, and I'm turning my attention to 21 at 33. So again, if you've got any initial thoughts on that album, add them below, and I'll try and include them when I do my review. See you soon. Don't forget, we're still standing.